Well, what we're going to talk about today is a couple of things about how businesses grow and how some of the features of Sage ERP X3 that actually enables businesses to be much more productive and grow faster than perhaps with other ERP solutions. And if you actually take a look at some surveys that we have done with our customer base, what you'll see is as far as the things that they're really trying to do, and these really come as no surprise. It's winning new customers, it's reducing operating costs, it's growing my revenue. So everything revolves around growth and productivity. And this was actually a result of our customer base, the survey that we do annually to all our customers, and this was a 2013 survey. And it doesn't matter whether you're a customer using Sage 500, 300, 100, or Sage ERP X3. Everyone has these common things that they're after, and that's growth and productivity. Now, if you actually take a look at some typical challenges, this was from a survey done by some other organizations. Some of the things involved there are cost increases outpacing revenue growth, inefficiencies are eroding profit margins, and financing new investments is challenging. If you actually take a look at that third one there, it's actually really interesting in the sense that a lot of small businesses or mid-sized businesses today are challenged with the fact that if they want to grow their business, they either have to borrow the money or actually generate the money internally to fuel the new growth. And the challenge with borrowing is the fact that even though the economy is much better today, banks are still reluctant to lend money to small and mid-market businesses. So that prevents some challenges associated with the everyday stuff about costs and profit margins and that type scenario. Now, if you actually take a look at some of the best-in-class ERP solutions, this was actually a survey done by Aberdeen in 2013, and these should come as no surprise to you. They've actually been pretty much in place since the beginning of time with ERP systems about improvement in inventory turns, faster cycle time, improving your delivery on-time performance, reducing operating costs, and things such as that. So those come as no real solution, but the interesting thing is the people that have done best-in-class solutions, these are the type performance boosts that they get. So as we actually go through this, it sort of brings up a question that says, well, do you really know what makes businesses grow? And some people would say that's sort of a rhetorical question, and in some sense it is, but the reality of it is if we actually take a look at what makes businesses grow, other than obviously increasing sales, increasing margins and things such as that, it really revolves around four different things. And this was actually done by a survey for another organization that we used. And one of the things they found is that there's four things that you had to have. You had to have company data that was accessible anywhere. You had to have or make it easy to use for all employees. Third thing is you had to have real-time insight on demand. Fourth thing is you had to have quality processes and data. If you actually had these four things, company data, accessible, easy to use, real-time insight, and quality processes and data, which is really business processes. It's not like quality control systems. It's really quality business processes. That would actually lead to revenue growth. In this particular case, when we actually had the survey done by IDG, they found that people had these four things, quality, usability, intelligence, and mobility. Companies with more effective data and ability to do those four things actually grew 35% faster than other organizations that don't. So if you actually take that and actually look at it a different way, what also comes in the case is associated with those four things is that companies that have a very effective ERP solutions, they'll get 75% faster customer response time, 75% faster process cycle time, and 73% increased productivity. Now, you might be saying, well, why is he sharing all this stuff with me? Because, I mean, we've seen these type statistics for many years, but the reality of it is if we actually take a look at these statistics and sort of step back and say, well, they're nice, but how do we get there? How do we get to those four things associated, that the quality data, the ease of use, and things such as that? So when we actually took a look at some of these survey results and what companies were telling us as part of our sales cycles, we took that and actually used it in the development of Sage ERP X3 version 7. And to do that, we actually came up with a question about how fast will you grow, and that really revolves around 7 ways that you will go forward with Sage ERP X3 version 7. And the first one is usability, get more done faster. Unfortunately, today we actually have to get more productivity out of our employees. They don't want to work 8, 9, 10 hours. They don't want to work on the weekends. So we got to give them tools where they can get more done faster. Mobility, go where your business takes you. I mean, how many people have iPads, have iPhones, have Android phones, Android tablets, things such as that? The world of the desktop computer, in some cases, the world of the laptop computer is disappearing in the sense that it's a dynamic world where people do all their communications on tablets, smartphones, and things such as that. So we actually have to have a mobile solution so that when we're actually in front of our customers or our suppliers or whatever, we can actually answer their questions right there on the spot without having to say we need to call back to the office. The second thing is control, or third thing, take back control of your business processes. That's the biggest thing to getting keys to success of any business is having well-documented, consistently applicable business processes that you can execute day in and day out. Fourth thing is intelligence. Get the insights you need when you need it. How often do we go into particular situations and people say, I can't get access to the data, I don't have a report for this, how many reports do you have? Well, really all they're talking about is they need intelligent business information so they can actually run their business. The fifth thing is responsiveness. Serve your customers better and earn repeat business. Depending on your marketplace, you could be a commodity business, and one of the things you can actually sell on a commodity business is obviously service. You could also sell on price. It'd be a great thing to actually have high prices and high service and make more money, but to do that, you got to be responsive to customers. You've got to be able to answer their questions when they call in, do whatever to actually respond to those customers. Number 6 is profitability. Create cash flow from within and invest in growth. That goes back to the issue of small mid-market businesses are sometimes challenged by the financial organizations getting money, so they have to actually generate those profits themselves. And finally, number 7, expansion, scale and expand to new markets or geographies. Could be buying other businesses, could be adding a different company within your organization. So there's all these things: usability, mobility, control, intelligence, responsiveness, profitability, and expansion are the things that we have actually built into Sage ERP X3 version 7 to help you grow forward in your business environment. Now, what we're going to actually do now is we're actually going to take a look at these. And the first one we're going to take a look at is get more done faster. One of the key things associated with Sage ERP X3 version 7 is it's a 100% web experience, multi-browser. Could be Internet Explorer, could be Firefox, could be Chrome, could be Apple Safari for our Apple people. And the key thing about the web browser is it takes away the burden of actually having to install the application or desktop application on someone's local computer. Anywhere they've got a browser, they can actually access Sage ERP X3 using the browser of their choice. Other key thing about the browser, it creates fast adoption for users simply because they're used to using browsers. Many people are out on Facebook, different websites, and basically if you can use Facebook, you can use Sage ERP X3. Other key thing about the usability component of Sage ERP X3 is this whole issue of a role base. We have 15 predefined roles in Sage ERP X3 version 7, roles such as a buyer, a controller, a data administrator, a planner, those type things. And associated with those roles are the actual visual processes that you've probably become familiar with in Sage ERP X3 version 7 and earlier versions. And the visual processes give you the ability to actually navigate a business process versus a menu structure. Now, if you'd like to, you can certainly use the menu structures, but it's really your choice to actually use the visual processes. So what we'll do now is we'll actually jump over to X3 and take a look at it. Now, in this particular case, I'm running in Chrome. And what it's actually do is brought up my landing pages, and I've got a couple of different landing pages depending on what I'm doing, but we'll be talking about the 7 tenets today: usability, mobility, intelligence, etc. But associated with these, I can actually have this particular case. Here's my visual process for distribution. Here's my one for financials. Here's the one for tech reporting. And then you actually see down here some user-defined ones where you actually have the dashboards where you can actually have different types of information. In this case, it's showing you short sales orders, short work orders. We can also have different types of indicators that we can work with. But as you look through this, a couple of things you'll notice you can work off these visual processes. You also notice that we're actually working in Google Chrome. Now, if I wanted to, because this is a browser, what can you usually do in browsers was obviously you can actually come up and actually open up other tabs within the particular browser. So, for example, if I want to go to the home key, I can open up another tab of Sage ERP X3. I could work in that particular tab, or I could work in the tab that I'm working in. It doesn't matter. I could obviously open up another tab and go to Facebook or some other website that my situation permits. But it's actually interesting in the sense that this multi-tab approach gives the ability to actually work in different areas of Sage ERP X3 at one time. Now, we're actually showing the visual processes for those people who are actually more familiar with menu structure. Well, here's the menu structure in Sage ERP X3. In this particular case, unlike menus that you typically see in a desktop client, because this is a browser approach, you actually see different menu panels. So you can see in this particular case, here's the panels for sales. We've got price lists, quotes, orders, allocations, etc. If we went to common data, here are some more type panels that you can look at. But now what you can also do in a typical web browser view is you can also hit Control F and actually go out and maybe search for something on a page. So if I start typing the word products, what you'll actually see is it starts highlighting things that have the word products in there. So I could actually go out, rather than scroll down through here hunting the things, I can actually type using the find function of the browser and do what I'd like to do. Now what you'll also see up here at the top, you'll see in this particular case, this is what we refer to as a bookmarks bar. And that's common in any type of browser. But this is a bookmarks bar of X3 functions. And as you look down through this particular web page, what you'll actually see if I scroll down, well, here's a case where notice I've got customers, and as you would expect, when I move it over the actual menu option, it is a hyperlink to another web function. But you'll notice that it's got this gold star beside it, or orange star, depending on how your monitor resolutes. But you can actually see once that star is on there, that actually places something up on this bookmarks bar. So, for example, let's just say, for example, that I wanted to come back and I wanted to add, I don't know, let's just say, wanted to add a standard cost inquiry to the bookmarks bar. I just come over there, hit the gold star. It actually takes that and puts it at the end of the bookmarks bar. But I could, if I wanted to, actually come up here and edit and change this bookmarks bar layout any way that I would so like to do. So a couple of things that you can work with as far as ease of use. I mean, quite honestly, I use this bookmarks bar quite often. I've got all my favorite functions on it, that type scenario. Now, when you actually come into Sage ERP X3, it doesn't matter whether you're coming from one of these menu functions from the bookmarks bar or from the actual home page working off one of the visual processes. Let's just suppose that you want to take a look at information. And the pages in X3 version 7 are actually laid out a little bit differently. But we'll just go back here to the menu things, and let's just go up here to the bookmarks bar. And what you'll actually see is bring up what we call a list page. And what a list page is basically a very high-level listing of information. And you can see in this particular case, we've got the product, we've got the description, we got the financial status or the status of it, et cetera. You'll also see the picture on the right-hand side over here. I could also, if I wanted to, notice up here, as you'd expect in a website, you've got the various filter options. So in this case, it's all greater than, less to, and starts, contains. But I'm just going to come up here and actually type the word FIN9 and actually do a search there. Well, I'm going to do it if I type correctly. So here's FIN9. So one thing you automatically know is it automatically defaulted to contains. So in this particular case, it actually brought up the items that we could work with. You can actually see the different wagons across the right-hand side over here. Now, from here, I could actually drill down into this particular page by hitting this hyperlink. Or if I actually want to go into edit mode, I could actually come back and maybe hit the little pencil over here. And what you'll see throughout X3 version 7 is this whole issue of common things that you see on a web page, of pencils and edit. You also see that little square box to the right of. That's what we call an action button. In this particular case, that action button actually gives you access to other functions within Sage ERP X3. Now, in this particular case, it actually brought up this single record. I'm actually going to come down here to one of the selection criteria. I'm going to actually tell it to show me all the toy items. And what you'll see over here, this is what we refer to as a left list For those of you who have been working with X3 in the past, you're probably familiar with the left list. You probably hang out a lot of time in there. But in this particular case, what we're going to do is that you'll notice these two green buttons. This button here, I can actually get rid of that left list. I can bring that left list back. I can make the left list bigger or smaller. It doesn't matter. I could also do the same things up here. I could actually put filters on here to find various items, etc. Now, what you could also do, if you remember from the old version 6 client, there was a menu bar across the top of the page. Well, that menu bar has now been moved over to, guess what, the right list. Same thing with this right list. You can make it bigger or smaller. You can get rid of it. You can get rid of both of them. You can hit escape F11, bring both of them back. So really, working with it is really your choice how you do with it. But this is the classic X3 page that you've been working with most times and what you'll continue to work with, etc. Same type functions over here, new, save, create, different things that you can do from the right-hand side, go from there. But the key thing is work with it the way you like to work with it. I've actually found since working with the new version 7, I actually get rid of the left list most of the time and only bring it back when I need it. But you have real things that you can actually do associated with it. Now, if we were to actually close this particular page out, now let's just say we'll close this page out, and I'm going to go back to this list. Now, you can see I've got it filtered. I'm actually going to get rid of this filter and just bring up maybe just finished goods items. Now, one of the things that you'll also take a look at, too, notice over here that you have two functions, Excel and Word. Now, we still know there's a Microsoft Office Word out there, and if I want to actually go out and do an export to Excel, I just click on this. It says, well, do you want to choose a template, edit, create, editor, or no template? I'm just going to say no template. And what's going to happen is when I actually do this, it's actually going to automatically call Excel, and it's actually going to verify the user ID associated with me within X3, and it's going to take that information and actually put it out within this Excel spreadsheet. So now you see this thing in the Excel spreadsheet. It's a fully functioning Excel spreadsheet. I can play with it. I can change the colors. Now you'll also notice up here there's a new tab called for Sage ERP X3 and see some different settings. But what you actually take, let's just say we took this 5 or 6, 10 lines and we actually deleted them. Now, in this particular case, you notice up here this refresh button. So if I hit that refresh button, it's actually going to go back, talk to X3, bring that stuff back. So you might think, well, gee, that's so what? Well, just imagine that you had a standard spreadsheet that you set out there and you want to actually update it on demand. Well, rather than have to go back and reduplicate that spreadsheet, you just bring up the standing spreadsheet, hit the refresh button, and back it comes back. So we got the full functionality to actually use within Sage ERP X3 as far as using the Excel functionality. Now, one other thing you'll actually take a look at, too, is let's just go back to a home screen here and menu. Well, let's suppose that you wanted to find a function or data within Sage ERP X3. It's not on a visual process. It's not on a menu structure. You got no idea where it is. Well, if you notice up in this top right, you've actually got this search box now in Sage ERP X3, which is actually very similar to a Google-type search. So I want to use our graphical report writer. I never can remember where that thing is. So I'm just going to type the word graphical. And what's going to happen is when I type that, it's going to go out and start looking for X3 functions or data that has it. Now, in this particular case, there is no data, but you can actually see, well, it's the graphical query tool, the graphical loads. Well, in this particular case, I want the graphical loads. If I was to click that, I could go right into the X3 functions. But let's actually take it one step further. Let's just suppose I was hunting a product, and I didn't really know what the product number was. I just know it happens to be a wagon. If I type the word wagon, it's going to go out. In this particular case, it actually found a number of different wagons and other types of information related to postal codes and things such as that. So if I actually wanted to go work on this product, FIN 912, or was hunting the blue wagon, I could actually go directly into it. This is what we call a view page, and from this view page, I could actually go into an edit page and go from there. So it's very usable associated with that particular function within Sage ERP X3. Now, one last thing we'll take a look at from a usability point of view, let's just go back to one of our list pages. So I go back to this product page, for example, and let's just say that I don't like the layout of this page. I have my own unique way of looking at it, and I want to change this layout to look to something else. So you notice here in the top left, we've got the little paintbrush here, what we call the personalized page. So if I actually click this, it's going to bring up a screen. If I click this gearbox, and you'll see that's consistent throughout X3 as far as gearbox means changing a setting. You'll notice up here I've got, in this case, I've got it in a column view. But if I come over here to this grid view, here it's actually showing me a card view. So I could actually look at a 1-column view, a 3-column view, a 5-column view. Well, the 5-column view is a little busy, so I'm just going to use the 3-column view. And I sort of like that, so I'm actually going to come over here and hit this and save it. And now from here, I could actually give it a code. We'll just call it 3X, and we'll call it 3X, and we'll just say that's 3 across, if I can type. And you actually see now I could actually keep this to myself. I could share it with people if I'm going to share it. Here's the groups I could share it with. Or I can make it global and available to everybody. I'm just going to make it global. And when I hit this and now close it out and go back, you'll actually see on this product list page I actually have the default view now, which was the list view, or the 3X, the 3 across view. So it's really your choice how you work with it. But those are just some basic usability functions within Sage ERP X3 that we've actually built into the product based on the capabilities of the web browser, because as you go back to it, everybody understands a web browser. And the key thing, too, is we've got the visual processes, so you can actually use that or use the menu structure. It's your choice how you do it. So let's just jump right along here real quick and talk about some other things about go where your business takes you, which goes back to the mobility component. One of the things we did with Sage ERP X3 version 7 is we realized it was a mobile world. So we actually made Sage ERP X3 fully mobile in any type of Android device, iOS device, or Windows device. We also built some mobile apps directly into the product that we deliver with the product related to expense management, customers, purchasing, stock inquiries, things such as that. But also because you received the development platform with Sage ERP X3, we actually can take that development platform and let you create your own mobile apps. So if we were to jump back to Sage ERP X3, and I'm just going to go up here to this particular John Smith individual. I'm going to go to my mobile home, and what this is actually going to do is going to bring up the actual mobile apps that I've actually had loaded. Now, what I'm also going to do, since I don't have an actual tablet running right now, is I'm going to take this and make this a little bit smaller screen, actually maybe the screen size that you might see of a tablet. So we see in this particular case, here's my tablet. Let's suppose that I'm a sales guy and I'm going out to work with customers. So I'm going to bring up my customer app. Here's a search button. Now, ordinarily, I'd be doing this with my fingers and the app's keyboard, but I could actually come up here and filter my customers to say N003. And I could also put this on a favorite. And now we got in this particular case, here's Fun Time Stores. It's going to bring up some high-level customer information. And from this high-level customer information, I could drill down to contacts, addresses, management. I could also take a look at some other information. We'll take a look back in a second. But now in this particular case, here's my contacts. Now if I actually took my browser and made it sort of like that size and maybe a little shorter, now it looks more like you would see of an iPhone. Of course, now if you had a new iPhone 6 Plus, it'd be a little bit bigger. But it doesn't matter whether you're on the tablet, whether you're on the browser or whatever. It's going to adapt the screen automatically to fit the space that it has. Now from here, if I wanted to call this individual, I could actually click on that within my iPhone, and it would actually dial it. Now I could also, if I wanted to, make this a little bit bigger, put it back maybe to tablet size, and maybe I was at the customer, and he had some questions about some quotes, some deliveries, some returns, or whatever. I could actually go in here, answer those questions, and if I needed to, I could actually take an order from this particular customer associated with selling some products to him. So the whole issue of Sage ERP X3 version 7 is this whole concept of mobility and the fact that we built it into the product and we actually done a number of things associated with it. So it doesn't matter whether you're on your tablet, your iPhone, your whatever, you got full mobility access to Sage ERP X3. And the system's always talking directly to the server using the mobility app or the actual browser. It doesn't really matter what. Now, if we actually jump along here real quick to the next one, which is take back control over your business processes, well, one of the things that we built into Sage ERP X3 are a number of different types of control elements. We do have an automated workflow solution such that you can actually create different types of approvals related to signing POs, signing quotes, signing sales orders, maybe actually approving the creation of a customer, approving the creation of a product, approving the change to a product's bill of material and that stuff. So real types of control elements built into the automated workflow capability, and also the ability to actually trace all those transactions, who they did them, that type scenario. Of course, the other key thing associated from a control point of view is the fact that you already have the visual processes within Sage ERP X3 based on the roles or whatever, such as maybe you doing customer management. Well, that gives you a level of control because now I've got a consistent business process that I can give to my people. They can follow it, go through it, that type scenario. So all types of things associated with it built into the base product using some of the visual processes from control, some of the automated workflows, that type scenario. So you got full traceability as you're actually going through the use of Sage ERP X3. Now let's just move along to the next one, is get insight when you need it. And that really goes back to getting different types of information right there at your various fingertips. So let's say, for example, this could be the real-time dashboards. It could be different types of financial reporting, different types of statistics and inquiries. And the key thing is we actually set this up to make it very easy for the user. So when he comes in the morning, rather than get a report showing, well, here's all your back orders, here's all the orders you didn't ship yesterday, you've got real-time information sitting right there on your dashboard. And also, too, we actually have the advanced business intelligence using Sage Enterprise Intelligence, where you can do different types of things associated with the actual use of that particular product. Unfortunately, we won't have time to look at it today, but let's just jump over to Sage ERP X3. And let's just suppose maybe I'm a person that's running the stock organization. I might come in, and what this will actually show me is it can show me all the short sales orders, and short sales orders are orders that have no inventory, often referred to as a back order. And you see a number of different orders out here. This is a multi-company, multi-country type demonstration system, so some of my peers and other companies aren't keeping track of things. But you see in this particular case, if I click on it, notice up here the information changes on the right-hand side. I could have multiple pages to look at that type scenario. Obviously, I could have filtered this list down to a particular company or whatever. And if you actually take a look at it, what do you see? Because it's a web solution, well, that's a hyperlink. It's an underline. I could actually go directly to that particular sales order if I wanted to. Different types of orders. So if I just bring this up real quick. But once again, if I was a stock guy and I was like, well, what's on that order? What's it short, et cetera, I could have actually drilled directly to that particular order. Now, we all know, too, that people like to work with different types of real-time information, different types of KPIs. And what we're actually bringing up now are some real-time graphics within Sage ERP X3 related to different types of performance. Here's forecast performance. Here's some sales forecast by region, some different sales type information. So I can actually take these. Now, if I actually wanted to, I could actually take this particular graph and actually go out and create a PowerPoint slide. So if I had a standing presentation that I had to do every month, I could actually bring up that presentation, very similar to what you saw in Excel. And there's a function there where you could actually refresh all the slides associated with it. Now, if I actually came back, let's come back down to our sales thing. And let's just say, for example, I wanted to add a chart to this particular function. So I'm just going to go down here and tell it I want to add a new tab. And we'll go to that tab, and we're going to add a new function. And we'll just come up and look at some of the things we do. We could get queries, processes, statistics. We'll get the statistics here, and maybe we'll get some sales type information. Maybe get something related to invoices. And we say, well, here's this invoice turnover by geographic zones. We're going to take that and put it on our desktop. Now, a couple of things you'll actually take a look at here. We could come up here and change this, but we'll do it later. You'll note when we take a look at this particular graph, we've got some information at the top, which is the actual data elements themselves in the graph. Well, notice up here you've got the pencil, so I could actually go change the look and feel of this particular graph or personalize it. So if I actually came up in this particular case and says, well, hey, first thing I want to do is I want to take the chart itself and put the chart up at the top. And I really don't like bar graphs. I like line graphs. I'm going to take that and just, when I start changing these, how it starts changing the various items within the graph. Now, a couple of other things I could also do is you'll notice, I'm just going to finish this out and do one other thing that you'll take a look at. Now, one of the things I say, well, whoopee, I can change the graph here, but can you mix graphic styles within the same thing? And when we're looking at stuff, we're looking at achievements this year, year minus one, and then one before. So rather than show that on a line graph, it'll probably look much better if we put it back in a bar graph. So we're just going to come up here and put this back to a bar graph, take this guy and put it back to a bar graph, and take this guy and put it back to a bar graph and close it out. So now what I've got is I've got some line graphs and I've got some bar graphs, because this is actually the quantities, and you can actually see when I move my cursor over it, it actually gives me the stuff. It's saying this was achievement for the current year in Germany. And if I wanted to, I could actually drill down to see the underlying detail. I've still got the chart at the bottom, but basically I can personalize this graph to bring up that real-time intelligence for me anytime that I like to work with it. Now, as we move forward to the next one, and that is serve your customers better and earn repeat business. That really goes back to customer responsiveness, and some examples of that are simple access to inventory, creating quotes on the spot using some of the tablet functions, quick access to customer data, bringing up some maps, because Sage ERP X3 version 7 does have its own built-in CRM solution. So if I was working off my tab, it'd be nice to actually bring up a map and see how to get to the next appointment I have to go to. And also within that, I can actually respond to the automated workflow notifications and alerts. So let's take a real-life look at something like that. You notice we're showing an example here of this available stock actually showing on an iPhone. Let's just go back to X3. And one of the things that we'll actually take a look at, we'll come up here and we'll actually look at things a little bit differently. This is what the desktop authoring thing. And what it actually shows you is, if we actually come in here and take a look at this available stock, is when we actually bring this up, apparently we got a bad screen over here, but if I go into this available stock, when I click on it, I'm at a customer and he's actually asking, well, when do you have some information? Well, this is actually the same similar type screen that was built within X3 that got transferred over to the mobile device when we created the mobile app. Well, let's just suppose he was asking about, well, gee, I want some FN 911s and I want to get them from a particular site. So if I come down there and hit this, tell it to set the refresh state and tell it to search, we're actually back here. What's going to show us, talking real time to X3, is the actual available inventory of that particular product, and hopefully it'll be up here in 1 second. And what it should show us, I just happen to know this particular product is going to come up negative, so it's actually going to be in a negative availability information, and we'll see that in one moment. But what could have been happening is when we were back at the office, the guy who's in charge of replenishing inventory could have actually been going back and realized he is in the hole. So now if we actually look down there, we can actually see what we're actually 1,100 units in the hole. Well, back at the office himself, he could have actually been in the purchasing function. So if we go back to just our home page here, actually I could have got to it one other way, so we'll just come here. He might have been working in the buyer's workbench or purchase workbench and actually created some particular product, but we're just going to jump ahead of the thing. And we're actually going to go out and create a purchase order buying some more of that particular product. So, the sales guy could have called that type scenario, but back at the office, this guy realized he was in trouble and actually came back and put some more. So we'll just say, pick us a supplier here to actually stuff to. We'll do it Capital Manufacturing. We'll come and add some lines. In this case, we'll get FIN 911, and we'll come back and we won't use that particular screen. We'll come back in here and say, well, let's say he bought 2,000 of them. And, of course, we default in the price. We default in the lead time. We create the orders. And then, meanwhile, about the time back at the customer or the prospect or whoever, when he was checking available inventory, the guy says, well, let me check one more time. And what he finds when he goes back and checks it again is the fact that there has been a new PO placed, and actually this inventory is going to be updated very quickly here associated with it. So now if we actually go back, rather than being 1,100 in the hole, well, we're still 1,100 in the hole, but there's the 2,000 we just entered on that purchase order, so it puts us into a positive availability situation on October 27th. So that's the power of having the mobile capabilities, so you can actually respond to questions right there, with the particular customer, that type scenario. Now, just close this out real quick. If we jump back here close this one out too. Yeah. So if we go back to our next thing, we're almost getting to the end of it here. Talking about creating cash flow from within and investing in growth, that goes back to the profitability. All time with different cost controls within Sage ERP X3 version 7. Some sophisticated inventory management capabilities built in native to the product, as well as the capability to work with Sage Inventory Advisor, which has much more sophisticated forecasting capabilities than the base product of Sage ERP X3. We can also set like minimum margin requirements, go through like purchase automation approvals, replenishment automation. Of course, we've already talked about the user-defined dashboard showing us when we're going in trouble and things such as that. So, for example, if we come back and take a look at some of those, let's just go back and take a look at a product site record here and take a look at some of the cost controls. I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to get a WA101 and come up and get it over here. Up. Give me, I forget the, I forgot which one I was in and that my product number changes. So NA012. There we go. So now if I actually come over to the cost here, you might say, well, why is he showing product cost? I mean, what's exciting about product cost? Well, you notice down here we got a product cost of $38.19 and some odd cents. Well, if you actually take a look at most ERP solutions, what do they give you as far as cost buckets? They give you material, labor, two types of overhead, maybe some other bucket. Well, what we've done in Sage ERP X3 is giving you the ability to actually get your cost down to a number of different elements. So if we actually say, well, what's made up of that $38.92? So if we drill down, we can say, well, gosh, it's $15.79 of materials, $18 of machine time, $4.03 of labor. Don't have any overheads in there. But the interesting thing is, if we actually come back and we give you the ability to subdivide your different types of material costs. In this case, it's raw material costs, component costs, it's packaging costs. Beauty about this, there's actually 20 different material buckets. You define the names for them, et cetera. So we actually say, well, okay, there's $3.35 a package cost, $4.50 raw materials, $7.88 of manufactured components below. If I get down to my machine and my labor, well, it's $1.29 of assembly labor, $2.50 of machine time. So you got real ability to actually talk about the details of what a product cost is in that type scenario. Now, one other thing, a couple of other things too, which I haven't mentioned. Notice this little thing here. Looks like a piece of paper with an arrow in it. This is what we call a jump to function within X3. So if I wanted to, I could actually jump to maybe a product record and actually see if over at the sales thing that I could actually specify. In this case, it's got to have a minimum margin of 20%. So that's another type control. I could actually set it up that any time an order was entered less than a 20% margin, that would automatically create a workflow that might have to go to finance to be approved, to sales management to be approved, or to both of them to be approved. But it's just another example of some controls that are built into Sage ERP X3 that helps you go about increasing your profitability in that type scenario. Let's just go one other thing here real quick. Take a look at our last one here real quick about scale and expand in new markets and geographies. Sage ERP X3 version 7 is multi-company. And you say, well, whoopee. Every other ERP system out in the marketplace today that's worth its salt is multi-company too. But you have to actually take a look and watch how people define multi-company, because multi-company can create, in some environments, can be a silo of information. So you might be in a particular system where each company is a silo of information and you can only see information across within that particular company. You also might have a situation if you sell the same product out of multiple companies, you have to redefine that product in every company. Or if you sell any type of business across customer suppliers within multiple companies, you have to define each and every company. Well, also, too, some systems actually have separate menu structures for each company. So there's a lot of things when you take a look at multi-company that you need to take a look at and say, well, what does that really mean to me as far as ease of use and being able to take a look at information? Well, one of the things that X3 has from a multi-company point of view is this concept of multi-company, multi-site. A site could be a manufacturing facility, a distribution facility, or whatever type of facility that you define. But because of Sage ERP X3, the way it's structured, I can actually have global management and global view of all my stuff. I can look across companies. I can look within companies. I can do company roll-ups, things such as that. And I can also control by the various parameters in the system how the system operates. So in Company A, I might set the flag to do this, but in Company B, I might set the same flag to do something else. So I can actually control how the system behaves within a company structure in that type of scenario. So if we were to actually go take a look at some of the multi-company sides of Sage ERP X3, if we just come down here to our multi-company, and I'm going to talk about it from an operations point of view, not necessarily a financial point of view. But one of the key things about Sage ERP X3 is it's a multi-company view of information, and also the ability to move materials between various companies. So, for example, if I actually came up in here and took a look at some things, say in this particular case, I'm looking at stock by site. Now, notice if I actually came up here and put in a site NA011 and actually put in a item DS003 and hit the search over, and what this is actually showing me is inventory within that particular company. In this case, it's NA011 that corresponds to our company 10, but we're showing that. But let's suppose I was curious about this particular product in other sites and across other companies. If I come back out and break out the site and tell it to search again, what you'll actually see now is I can actually see that inventory in other sites, in this particular case, other companies. So this site FR11 happens to be in our French company. This AO11 happens to be in our Angolan company. So right here from one screen, I'm looking across companies associated with it. Now, one of the other things that you'll actually take a look at as you're doing things with that is this whole concept of intercompany information. So, for example, if I was actually come up and do a look at a intercompany purchase, a couple of things we'll take a look at. We'll just come here and take a look at the selection. I'm going to get, I don't have that. But if we actually come up and notice up here, it's sort of hard to see, but you've got this inner sites and intercompany. If I was to actually come up here and create a new PO, and let's just say that company NA012 was going to buy something from site NA011, which is another company or another site within my system. If I came up here and said, well, I wanted to buy some DIS something, we'll just give us some a standard mouse here. Okay, that's fine. But what would happen if I complete? Notice when it did this, this little inner site button came on. Well, that tells me it's an inner site order, and if this was across company boundaries, it tells me it's not only inner site, but it's intercompany. But the beauty of this, if I was to go out and complete this transaction, it would automatically create the buy-sell relationship. A lot of systems, I would have to create the purchase order, then I have to create the sales order. The system automatically creates the buy-sell relationship, and as I process the sales order from the sending site, it goes into an in-transit, and then if I process it, the receipt on the PO, it takes it out of in-transit, puts it into the receiving side inventory. And the beauty of that is all the intercompany eliminations take care of themselves. I could actually make money on the transaction if I wanted to, but it's really your choice how you actually set it up associated with it. So let's just go up here and start wrapping this thing up. We've talked about the 7 functions that helps a business grow forward with Sage ERP X3 version 7. That's usability, it's intuitive design, the web user and one of the biggest assets on the book is inventory. And finally, expansion to global management. Maybe you're a single company now, but you might actually be acquiring a company. You might be starting another company. Maybe you're already a global organization. You've got companies in different geographies, France, U.S., Canada, Australia, whatever. Well, the key thing is Sage ERP X3 is already built in to handle all that stuff for you. So if we take a look at it, so how our mid-sized company is going to grow forward with a faster, simpler, and more flexible ERP solution? Well, obviously that's Sage ERP X3 version 7. So with that, I'm going to unmute the lines, hopefully. If you feel free to ask some questions, if you don't want to do them publicly over the webcast, you can see my email address down there, chat.childers@sage.com. Feel free to send me an email if you have any questions or anything associated with it. So let me unmute the lines here real quick.
All guests have been unmuted.
So if anyone has any questions, just chime up and we'll be happy to try and answer them. Any questions out there? As usual, it's a very bashful group. Don't hear any responses there. But once again, if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email at chatchilders@sage.com. If you're an existing Sage customer looking at maybe migrating to Sage ERP X3 or upgrading to it, two things. We'd love to have you come take a look at Sage ERP X3 version 7, but we certainly do appreciate you being a loyal Sage customer, and we'll be happy to keep you in the product line that you would like. So thank you for being that loyal Sage customer. Thank you for attending the webcast today. Once again, I apologize for the technical difficulties, but we actually got through and actually came finishing pretty close to time. So